Well, George, welcome back to Pattaya.
Thank you.
We feel very privileged to have you. It's less than a year since you were here last time.
Yeah, no, it feels like I was here sooner. Actually, it doesn't feel like a year. I keep thinking, is it a year? I don't know. Yeah, it's been a year.
We are in the multicultural city of Pattaya. Our English viewers will obviously know you, but for our Russian and Thai viewers, can you just tell us brief?
Well, Russians will know me because I go to Russia a lot.
Okay.
But it depends. I think it depends on the kind of age demographic because, you know, there are some places, obviously anyone who was around in the kind of 80s will know who I am, but then a lot of people from the sort of younger generation will probably know me through their parents, or they won't know who I am. There are some places where people really don't know who I am. There was a time when that wasn't possible, but now it does happen, and it's quite funny, you know. I've always worked, you know what I mean? I've always carried on doing what I do. You know, like prostitutes or monuments, if you stick around long enough, you get respect. So I think there's a lot to be said for kind of stamina and persistence.
You started off being an artist, performing artist. You still perform, but now as a DJ.
Well, actually, funny enough, I was a DJ first.
Okay, I didn't know that.
About 79, 80, I used to DJ in a club called Planets. And in fact, there is one solitary picture of me in full drag DJing, which is quite funny. But the music career really sort of took off, you know, after that. And I always wanted to be a performer, a singer, a writer. That was always my passion. You know, music was really from a very early age. Music was a thing that kind of where I escaped to. You know, when I was a kid. You know, it was my salvation. It's always been the thing that's kind of glued my life together. You know, whenever things have been really difficult, it's always the one thing that I've been able to come back to. So I would say that music is kind of my salvation. It sounds a bit corny, but it really is. I mean, it sounds a bit like an R&B song, but music is my salvation. But it really has been the kind of thing that sort of kept me sane and kept me working.
Your DJ is obviously your DJ sets are much difficult from the music from the 80s. But
yeah.
You have a new record where you actually combine some of your DJ inspiration with some of the vocals, you know, that we all love from the older days.
Yeah, I mean, I do. You know, I've always done dance music. I've done other dance projects, but you know, the thing about the 80s is it was wonderful, and you know, and I have a lot of respect for it, but it's kind of over. I sometimes feel like I'm the only person who knows it's over. I suppose at this point in my life, I can kind of dip back into the 80s, and I kind of have a real respect for what I did back then. But I think of myself as kind of being more progressive. I mean, progressively nostalgic is a good way to describe me, you know, because I think you have to have a respect for where you come from. You know, obviously, without all those things, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be making music. I wouldn't be DJing. I wouldn't be doing anything, you know. So obviously, the past is hugely important. But there's a point where, you know, it can be quite restrictive if you're always talking about the past or always kind of in the past, you know. But from my point of view, I think because I do a lot of different things, you know, I mean, I've been DJing for the best part of 20 years. So that's been a kind of second career for me. So I don't really have any issues with the 80s anymore because it's like, you know, I have another job. I do other things. And so, you know, I kind of look at it quite fondly now. There was a time when I just couldn't stand it. You know, I just used to think, oh my God, you know, it's like a ball and chain. But then there's a point where you kind of, you know, you reclaim it in a way. And I think that's quite a nice feeling, you know, because it becomes yours. It's not something for other people to talk about. You know, it belongs to you, you know.
As an artist, what is the different feeling when you DJ and when you're on stage singing?
Well, when you're singing, you know, you can take people on a kind of emotional journey. You know, you can make people sad, you can make people feel all sorts of emotions. When you're DJing, you kind of are slightly restricted because people want to feel good. They don't want to be depressed. So you can't let's put on a sad song and make people cry. You can do that at a wedding, but you can't do that in a club. So you know, it's a slightly different journey, but I always say, you know, it's all performance, you know, because for 90 minutes or 2 hours, you know, you're entertaining people and, you know, you have to kind of, to a certain extent, give people what they want, but also try to kind of play things that they haven't heard. You know, it's all about kind of feeling the crowd, mixing things up, you know, because, you know, when you travel as much as I do as a DJ, you know, it changes everywhere. You know, literally from club to club, you can be in the same city and a different club. What you play in another club will not work. So you have to be quite adaptable, you know. But I think, you know, as a DJ, you have to kind of play what you love as well. You have to kind of stick to what you like. Otherwise, you know, you just become a jukebox.
But how much of your set is built on the response from the audience?
Well, I don't know. I suppose I take a bit of a snobby view about it. I just think, well, I play really good records and I play things that I like, but that doesn't mean that other people are going to like them. But I suppose, if you enter into anything with the right attitude, I go out to have a good time. I don't go out thinking, it's going to be a disaster and people aren't going to like it. I mean, I have a very positive attitude to what I do, whether it's performing as a singer or DJing, or whatever it is. I'm very lucky to do something that I love and to get paid for it. This is like, and it's taken me quite a long time to realise this, but I think I really do realise this now, that, I'm very lucky to do the job I do. It's wonderful. I kind of have a great life and I get paid for having a great life. So what's there to complain about, although I've done lots of complaining in the past. I think at this point of my life, I tend to kind of look at things with a bit more of a positive attitude.
You played a lot also in Asia lately, and
yes.
I've heard that when you see Thailand on your calendar and your schedule, you get happy. What is your personal relation to Thailand?
Well, you know what? Thailand is one of those places that I've only been twice. This is my second trip to Thailand, and it's one of those places I've been in the airport more times than I can remember on the way to Australia or other countries, Japan, and it's always amazed me that I've never been here, to play or to sing. It's just one of those weird things. There are a few countries that I haven't been to, and Thailand was one of them. So, over the years I've been invited, and it's just never happened. So last time I came was my first trip to Thailand, and I had lots of preconceptions about what it was going to be like, and and I was wrong in some respects and right in other respects. I mean, people, obviously everyone I know has been here, and everyone says it's a great place and the people are lovely, and that's certainly true.
The party crowd in Asia, how do you see them different than, for example, in the States or in Europe?
Well, you know what? Actually, I would say that it's kind of a bit like Europe here, in terms of people seem to kind of know their stuff. There are hip people everywhere. I mean, that's the thing about dance music that's universal, is that, actually everywhere in the world on the weekend and sometimes during the week, people are out clubbing everywhere. The other thing that I love about dance music is the fact that it is its own little private universe to some respects, because there is a lot of music that gets played in clubs. Nobody hears it unless they go to clubs.
We had all the DJ culture coming in the mid-90s. Everybody had their school bag, was a DJ bag suddenly.
Yeah.
It's disappeared a little bit again, but you were definitely part of that movement. Being in the centre, how did you see it?
Well, I got into dance music really when Acid House exploded in London. Acid House was like punk rock. Acid House was really exciting. I had been very successful as a musician with Culture Club and as a solo artist, but I'd reached a point where I didn't feel that I kind of fitted into what was happening musically. It was the time of all the sort of boy bands and manufactured pop music, and Acid House was just more exciting. It was just like, I want to be part of this. So I just gravitated towards that because it was more interesting. And I started a label called More Protein. I had a lot of records out that many people don't even know I was involved with. Most people don't know really much about my dance history. But it was just a really exciting time to be part of music again, music that wasn't necessarily chart music, And the club scene at that time exploded in the UK and then all over Europe. And that's really when I started to kind of make dance records, to DJ and clubbing, really. But I've always gone to clubs. I've always, from 14, I've always been in discotheques, I mean, the music's changed, but basically clubs are always the same, aren't they, really?
Being in the business so many years, I believe 30 years soon?
30 years next year, yeah.
Been so many different places, done so many different things.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of aspiring talents here in Thailand watching. What would your advice be to them if they want to be part of the entertainment industry?
Well, I mean, there are different reasons everybody has different reasons for why they want to be in this industry, in the creative industry. There are a lot of people, I would say, that want the fur coat without doing any work. They just want the glory. They want to be famous. They're not even sure why they want to be famous. They just want to be famous. A lot of people just want lots of money, I mean, I can only talk about what inspired me as a kind of teenager to be a musician, and the kind of artists that excited me, David Bowie, you know, all the kind of glam rock stars, punk rock, you know, all that kind of music. I grew up in the 70s really, more than the 80s. So the 70s for me was the most exciting kind of decade for music, because you had everything happening at the same time. You had reggae music, you had punk, you had disco, you had glam rock, you had everything happening at the same time. And I think nowadays, you know, if you look at music, it's much more formulaic. You know, it's much more, everything's in its category. But back in the sort of 70s, and to some extent during the 80s, it was quite kind of eclectic and confusing. Now I think we live in a time where, you know, we have a lot of technology, and technology has made it possible for lots of people to make music, but everybody's making the same music. You know, I mean, this is my own criticism of everything I hear now. Even in Asia, you turn on the telly and it's like hip-hop versions in Asian, Korean versions of Lady Gaga, Korean versions of hip-hop records. And, you know, it's like, my feeling is like, put something of yourself into what you're doing, you know. Everybody wants to do the same thing. You know, I was watching a thing yesterday on CNN about African hip-hop, and there it was, you know, the black girl standing next to a motorbike, you know, on a parking lot with the sort of smoke, you know. And everybody's doing the same dance moves, and it's all this stuff, and you know, it's like, come on, you know, that's one of the great things about having a culture, is to kind of try and put some of yourself into that, you know, and that's what makes music interesting. It's the same sort of attitude I have towards kind of English bands that want to break America, and so they just do something really American to break America, which is crap. You know, it's like, oh, let's do a video with the yellow school bus. You know, it's like, you know, why are you doing what you're doing? You know, what are you trying to say to people? So that's really where I come from. What's your message? Do you want to change the world? You know, do you want to start a revolution, or do you just want to make some money? Because if you want to make some money, then just do what everybody else is doing. You know, but I don't think you don't have a long career when you do that. People that kind of compromise, you know, creatively, usually are flashes in the pan.
The plans for the near future?
Right now, I've got quite a busy year DJing. I've got some musical stuff that's coming out. I have an album out at the moment called Ordinary Alien, which is out, and I've got I've got a new track called Turn to Dust, which is coming very shortly. Some really good mixes by Bootix and David Jones and a few other kind of interesting people. And then I'm working on a reggae project. Yeah, just in the next year, I have Culture Club. We're doing a 30-year, it's our 30-year anniversary. I mean, I think it would be insane not to do it, you know. And I think with something like Culture Club, there has to be a reason. You can't just sort of take it out of the box and say, we're here. And I think 30 years is a milestone. I think that's worth celebrating, because when we started the band, you know, I never thought for a second that we'd be making records like in 10 years, 5 years, you know, 6 months, you know, sometimes, you know, the way we used to fight. So I think this is an opportunity also for us to kind of, we want to make a new record. And, you know, something kind of grown up, something, not a pop record. You know, we're not going to try and wear trousers we wore when we were 20, you know, and try and make that kind of music. But, you know, I think our sound is quite universal. You know, we do a bit of reggae, you know, a bit of soul. But, yeah, we want to make a new record and tour. The biggest thing is going to be the touring. We're going to tour all of next year. We're starting in Australia in February. And hopefully we'll come to Bangkok, because we've never played Bangkok.
We hope so. I can tell you in all honesty, my first LP was Colours by Numbers.
That was a good one.
Thank you very much. We're going to Lima Lima now to enjoy your performance.
Thank you.
Look forward to it. Thank you very much for coming.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.